Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this side away. Move to the groove and the light that flickers. We get lost in the crowd, it's getting thicker. We get away from the drinks and chatter. Haven't said a word, but it doesn't matter. Feel the air getting thinner. Standing in a blurry green. No one else can see us. Live your life within the moment. And don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away.
To your home like a 1930s train wreck. From the brand new VNL 860 studios. Creating a community of friends and topic-based discussions. This is JJDrones Live.
I'm Karl Marx and I approve this message.
And it's JJDrones Live. Welcome to the train wreck. Thank you everybody for coming in today. We have got Deer Corner. We've got Tam Duffy. We've got Droning Veteran and Cheesehead Media. We've got Ted from Off the Hook Outdoors. We've got my dad, Dave Johnson. And we've got Christian from Mainlight Drone. And I'm sure that my stepmom is somewhere in the background watching. Looks like my dad's having the prime rib tonight. But first, here we are. If you'd like to have one of your videos featured on my website, email me, Jason at JJDrones360.com. And for everything JJ Drones related, go to JJDrones360.com. And if you're going to do some shopping on Amazon, use my links, JJDrones360.com/Amazon1. And if you have a video you'd like to have featured on our Blinker Fluid of the Week segment, email Dan, droningveteran@gmail.com. And our Spreadshirt shop is now open. It's jjdrones.myspreadshop.com. That's jjdrones.myspreadshop.com. And if you'd like to donate to the Lee and Betty Johnson Memorial Charity, it's jjdrones360.com/donate. That's jjdrones360.com/donate. You'll be helping out Mission 22 and Reese Across America. I appreciate all of you coming in tonight. It's going to be one heck of a show. We do have a very special guest lined up. And unfortunately, guys, we are going to skip the Blinker Fluid of the Week and the Florida Man of Tip of the Week because of how important this show is. And so we're going to start this off real quick by bringing up our very good friend, Brian from Cheesehead Media. And our very special guest, his name is Vic Moss. He is the CEO of the DSPA. Welcome to the show for the first time, Vic Moss.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on. I do appreciate you being here.
Sure. My pleasure.
If you could kind of give us a quick rundown of who you are, what the DSPA is, and your involvement in the drone community.
Sure. Like you said, I'm Vic Moss, and what I am is basically I'm a photographer, videographer by trade. I've run Moss Photography for the last 36 years, so I've been doing this for a while, and have started using drones about 10 years ago. And without getting into the details, one thing led to another, and I've become rather prominent, I guess might be a good way to put it, when it comes to drone regulations and that kind of stuff here in the United States. I was on the Drone Advocacy Committee, and then the Advanced Aviation Advocacy Committee became after the Drone Advisory, sorry, not advocacy, too many words. So the Drone Advisory Committee, and that became the AAAC, so the Advanced Aviation Advisory Committee. So that was just a bunch of us getting together in Washington, D.C. and working with the FAA on different suggestions on how to change things. That folded last month because it was sundown by the 2024 FAA Reauthorization Act. So we'll see what they bring up next time. That'll be fun. Hopefully I'll still be part of it. And I just do all kinds of fun stuff when it comes to drones, flying them, regulating them, drone safety. I'm huge on drone safety. I'm actually an FAA safety team member, drone pro here out of the Denver FISDO. So I work with Colorado and Wyoming drone pilots. Either before or after there's an incident. If it's just an educational opportunity, I'm only a volunteer. I'm not a paid FAA employee. But I get the joke here in Colorado, Wyoming is you don't want this phone call. Hi, this is Vic Moss from the FAA safety team. Can I buy you a cup of coffee? Because that means you did something wrong. And somebody turned you into the FAA, and the FAA said, hey, it's okay. It's just an educational opportunity. So if you get that phone call, it's okay. No, you're not in trouble yet. Depends on how the meeting goes.
Right.
But they've all been great. Every single one I've been able to do have been great. People just want to be able to fly safe. That's it. That's all they want.
And that's what we're going to talk about today, because and I'm going to bring this up here real quick. It's the Drone Advocacy Alliance and the droneadvocacyalliance.com. It's pinned in the chat, and if you are very, very much in favor of the free market system and making it possible for people to use their drones as they would like to, definitely go to the droneadvocacyalliance.com. It is pinned in the chat, and it's very important for you guys to contact your senators.
Especially the senators, yep.
And right now it's the senators, and from what I understand, Monday is pretty much D-Day.
It could be Tuesday, but probably, that's to probably bring that up. I'm also part of the Drone Advocacy Alliance. I am part of that as well. So, let's be transparent here. And it's just basically we're a grassroots organization of U.S. drone companies that kind of got together and said, hey, individually we can't do much about all the anti-China rhetoric in D.C. and some states, but mainly D.C. So we kind of got together and joined forces and tried to do stuff that way. So we do have on our website, so like you said, droneadvocacyalliance.com, we have a take action page. And if you go to that right now, we have 3 different campaigns. And the main one, the main 2, actually, I've got that on my other screen over here, is 2. One is the middle one there, opposing the Countering CCP Drones Act, which I'll talk about. And then the other one is we just actually did this, an agricultural campaign, which is really kind of cool. Somebody reached out to us and said, hey, what about ag? It's like, okay, hey, let's put that page together. And they're going to be having a webinar as well here this week, and we're going to do that. So what's going on with the CCPDA, because it's a very long name, is a representative, a congresswoman from New York by the name of Elise Stefanik. She's from the 21st District of New York. Put this out, the CCPDA, as a House bill. It didn't make it out of the House, but what happened was the language of it was included in the National Defense Authorization Act. Basically, every year the defense has to be reauthorized. So it's like if you don't get reauthorized, you don't do your thing, you don't get your money, blah, blah, blah. So it has to be reauthorized every year. And they have what's called a markup. So they have a committee. They have the congressmen and women, in this case, in the House, come in and say, I would like to add this, 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 and this, and then the committee members vote on it, and the CCPDA language ended up in the House version. Now it's the Senate's turn. So what happens is now the Armed Services Committee, so the Senate Armed Services Committee, on Wednesday will start what they call their markup session. So I think it's Wednesday, Thursday, and possibly Friday. Depends on how long it goes. They'll allow other senators to come in and bring their little pet projects with them and say, hey, I would like to add this to the defense bill if it's appropriate. And the CCPDA is close enough, I think is a nice way to put it. And the committee says, yeah, that's fine. Then it's added to the bill. So then it goes to the full Senate, it gets voted on, blah, 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 blah. So what we really need people to do here is you can either reach out to your senator via their website, because each one of them do have a contact page on their website. You can call them, or just simply go to the DroneAdvocacyAlliance.com, take action page, and go ahead and fill in on our page anyway. Go ahead and fill in your name and address. And what that automatically does is it populates who your senators are and who your congresspeople are. And you can have a message body there. You can see here on the screen that it's, click it and go if you want to do that. What I would strongly suggest, though, is that you kind of write a little bit about what this would do to your business if DJI drones were banned. And what the CCPDA does is, I guess I should have started there. Sorry about that. I've been talking about this so much, I just jumped right into the meat and potatoes. CCPDA, it basically requires the FCC, so the Federal Communication Corporation, every time a new electronic that needs frequency use, let's say, comes into the United States, they have to get a license. You have to get an FCC license, and you say, okay, you can use this frequency or that frequency, blah, blah, blah. Everything that comes that way. And so what happens is every time DJI has a new drone, they go to the FCC and say, hi, here we are. We need our license. And the FCC says, here you go. They check it out, make sure it's all working okay, and they go, here you go. They've been doing it so long that they know that it's going to work. So it's fairly automatic for the FCC to give DJI an FCC license, so they can then broadcast on the frequencies they need to broadcast to fly the drone, or mics, or gimbals. So all those also have FCC licenses. And so what the CCPDA does is says, FCC, you may no longer give DJI, and it is DJI specific, you may no longer give DJI any FCC licenses. So that is effectively a ban for DJI here in the United States. DJI holds, now you listen to 73 to 83, 75% of the market. And when it comes to replacing those drones, which we then can no longer import, there's nothing there. I mean, literally,
Right.
There is nothing there for us. It does not, I want to make sure everybody understands, it does not affect current FCC licenses.
Okay.
It could. I don't want to say it's not going to. It could. They could literally in the same the FCC say, okay, no more DJI. I know while we're at it, we're going to revoke all the DJI licenses here too as well. The odds of that happening are I want to say almost non-existent, but I just want people to understand that it could. It really could happen. I hope it doesn't. I don't think it will, but it is a possibility. The main thing is we won't be able to buy any more DJI drones. We'll be able to buy what we've got, which means DJI could still keep producing the Mavic 3 Pro, which is my main bird, or the Mavic 3 Enterprise. Those are the three I usually use, or the two I'm usually using. And just keep pumping them out, and that's it. We have no more advancements. So that's a possibility, but they won't cut DJI off, but they won't give any more FCC violations, FCC approvals.
Okay, so now let's get down into the reason why they want to ban this, because they're saying that DJI is part of the CCP, and that they want to, that they're giving all of this personal information over to, the CCP military.
Right.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
There's actually a study that's been done that shows that there's over 300 or close to 300,000 devices from 473 Chinese manufacturers operating on U.S. networks as of February, which is accounting for 3.8% of all internet-connected devices. That's up from 185,000 devices from 2023. And
Wow.
we're talking, modems, we're talking printers, we're talking fax machines. Your vehicles have microchips in it from China. Your cell phones, your refrigerators, washers, dryers,
Yeah, exactly. Mouse.
A mouse, anything that runs basically that's an electronic in the U.S. is basically made in China.
It's
right?
pretty much. It's either made or sourced, absolutely,
Mm.
including ADS-B transceivers for aircraft.
Okay, so I mean, there's so many things. Why DJI?
DJI because they're an easy target. The last week or two, I've started using the phrase "whipping boy." If you're not older and you don't know what that is, Google it. It's basically we're an easy target. This started back in the previous administration when China kind of rose to the surface and said, hey, at least politically rose to the surface. And you can talk politics without getting political. I want to make sure people understand that because this is a political discussion, but we don't have to be political about it. Basically, it's an easy target. You had Huawei, sorry, two entirely different things. Communications, which were proven to have some back channels into China, and so that sort of started it. And this all started a long time ago, and in drone terms, when an ICE employee at the time, I think it was ICE, Immigration and Customs. I can't remember what it used to stand for now. ICE, Immigration and
Custom Enforcement.
There we go, Custom Enforcement. I was trying to say customization. That ain't it. Put out a memo that said, hey, DJI is giving all these free drones to first responders so they can gather intelligent information or intel. And it was like, no, they're giving them free so they can, it was a PR move, absolutely 100%. When any company does something like that, it's a PR move. But they wanted to help first responders. That's how it went. And it sort of snowballed from there. And then when China became the enemy du jour, and then drones came on the scene shortly thereafter, as far as adding to different federal lists. And so Elise Stefanik went ahead and did this bill 2 years ago, and it didn't go anywhere. And then this year, it really gained a lot of traction. And I think, and this is about as political as I'm going to get, I think she's doing it, and others as well, because she wants to be on the VP ticket. And you got to rise above the crowd if you want to do that. And Trump is not a friend of China, nor is anybody really, for that matter, in the United States. But she sort of glommed onto the whole drone thing to make herself look good.
Well,
and that's me.
And we kind of went over Elise Stefanik and her ties to Skydio on our last program.
Thank you.
And I know that you had an interview with the original Dobo the other day, and you weren't sure about the entire contract thing with the state of New York, but up there on the screen is a screenshot of the contractor and reseller information for the general services for the state of New York. So
wow,
there's your evidence right there. That,
and I saw I actually had a copy of the contract.
Did you do? Okay.
By Skydio, and I didn't put it publicly because I don't do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not that what you did was wrong. Absolutely not.
No, I didn't get any of the terms or anything like that. I just wanted to show that. Yeah,
that's not public knowledge, so I didn't share it.
But this guy may be a really good friend of yours. I'm sure that you agree with everything that he says. Watch this.
Mr. Singleton, how about CCP-controlled drone companies? Do you believe it's a good or a bad idea that these drones are being used in the United States that are linked to Communist China?
Sorry, absolutely. DJI sits at the heart of China's military-civil fusion strategy, which breaks down barriers between the civilian and military institutions to mobilize the former in service of the latter. So DJI drones collect vast amounts of sensitive data, everything from high-resolution images of critical infrastructure to facial recognition technology and remote sensors that can measure even an individual's heart rate. Compounding the DJI risk is their capacity for geofencing. So they can use GPS data, GPS data, DJI can decide whether one of its drones will function in a given area, allowing the company to turn down or turn off entire fleets of drones. I think the ability to deactivate American drones shouldn't be entrusted to a foreign entity, least of which the CCP.
So, what do you think, Vic? Do I need to get my Mini 4 so I can monitor your heart rate?
No, Mr. Singleton. I called him out on Twitter, and I rarely use Twitter, X, whatever it's called. I called him out, and he didn't get back to me. Okay, I gotta figure out how to say this without getting a bleep in here. That's not how I speak normally. It was when I first heard that, by the way. Mr. Singleton is there's a reason his hair is brown, because he's that old. DJI drones, the most accurate thing he got there was the fact that there's geofencing, which, by the way, is a good thing in my book. Not necessarily how it's implemented. We can debate that on another time. But I like the fact that there's geofencing. It is a PITA at times, but it's saved us a lot of hassle. It has a lot of hassle. Does it collect high definition imagery, or high resolution imagery of critical infrastructure?
Yes.
Yeah, if you fly over it and you take a picture of it, and then you go ahead and literally send the files to DJI, because they don't upload them. They don't upload.
But let me stop you at that juncture.
If you need to talk, you better stop me, because I'm just going to vomit words until you tell me to shut up.
All right, let me stop you right at that point, because when it comes, and we've gone over this, we've been on this since February, okay? So when you have critical infrastructure, okay, I don't care if it's your Mini 4, your Mini 2, your Mavic, whatever, there's geofencing already installed in the drone. That's why DJI is probably one of the safest, best drone for a beginner to use, because if you're in an area where you're not able to fly, it's not like these people that are going to the Super Bowl and flying their drone into the field. That's not a DJI drone.
Yes,
because that DJI drone will not fly in these restriction areas.
Let's clarify that real quick. That is a common misconception. I'm not saying you're wrong, but you're not right yet. Sorry.
No, fine.
Basically, the geofencing works in that, like you said, there are areas where you cannot fly.
Right.
Washington, D.C. I flew in Washington, D.C. in November, and we had to unlock each and every one of our drones because that is geofenced out. But I can fly over critical infrastructure pretty much all day long, with a few exceptions. There are some federal penitentiaries which are geofenced out, and there are some nuclear power plants that are geofenced out. But as far as like the NFL, that kind of thing, those are self-unlockable. I can lift off my drone and it says, "Are you allowed to fly here?" And you say yes. So those drones, those people that fly Baltimore, I think it's happened 3 times in one game or something like that last year. You can unlock those. They're self-unlockable. It will tell you you're not supposed to fly, but it won't prevent you from flying if you know the way around it. And it doesn't prevent everything, and it also prevents some things we're not supposed to, are allowed to fly over. Here, I live very close to a youth facility. It's a nice way to put it. Prison for ingrates. And I had a client that literally right next door to it, and so I needed to fly over it so I could get the shots I needed, and I couldn't. And it's just like, I didn't want to go through the hassle, so I just didn't get those shots. It wasn't the end of the world. So I'm technically allowed to fly over it, but DJI said don't. So there's some safety issues as well there. So yes, it does prevent you from flying in some places, but if you rely on DJI to tell you when and where you're not supposed to fly, you get into big trouble.
Right, and that's why you're always told to check the airspace using a third-party app. I mean, before you fly, before that was taken away, that was a great one. I use Airspace Hub now.
Okay, I use Air Control and AirAware.
Okay, so there's apps out there, and people that are unaware of what to do, definitely get in contact with me or Brian or anybody like Vic. And Vic is a great resource on Facebook. He always posts stuff out on Facebook too that helps the new drone people. And then we've got I actually have watched one of your seminars over there at the AUVSA or whatever.
AUVSI. Was that the one with
AVSI.
Michael Robbins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to share with everybody this guy here.
Uh-oh.
He is quite the character. Watch this.
Hey, Michael, this is Brian. I'd love to jump in here. And frankly, I would ban these things yesterday if I could.
Yeah, he was not a big fan of it.
No,
and
he also doesn't know what he's talking about, but that's not true. Oh, he
Well,
doesn't. He doesn't. The studies you were quoting were the studies he wrote 5 years ago.
Now this part of your seminar or your Zoom meeting really took me by surprise. Watch.
Yeah, but you didn't answer my question. So if I can show you that I'm air gapping my system from the network and there's no threat cyber-wise, wherein lies the threat matrix for SLTT using these drones? Because you and I disagree on whether the U.S. drones are just as good now, because they're not.
If we have the internet disconnect, then that's not an issue. But
who's operating drones not connected to the internet, though? I mean,
I'm sorry, what?
That's not a realistic proposition. I mean, most drones are connected to the internet either for software.
I fly offline all the time.
Okay.
I mean, my controller is
no,
not
maybe not all the time, but clearly you're connecting it to the internet on a pretty regular basis, either to do a software update, download images.
No, I do not download images. That's an opt-in feature on my. I have a DJI fleet and one Autel. If I want to, I have to opt in to send that stuff. Absolutely. If I want to do that, I don't do that. If I want to update offline, I can put it on an SD card, throw it in the drone.
Yeah,
and so I'm not online at that point. So that would not be an issue.
So you have to be online, Vic. You have to be all the time.
No. No, I don't. And I know Michael. He's a friend. He really is. We had breakfast together at Expo in San Diego in April. He ate. I gotta be careful here. AUVSI has a certain set of members. Okay, 107 crowd, the 44809, so the recreational and the 107 crowd, and the first responders are not their crowd. They don't represent them.
Okay.
And so Michael and his crew have to watch out for their members who pay the bills. And I get that. I really do. But he and I disagree on a number of things. After the breakfast meeting in April, it's like, here's my phone number. If you have a problem, call me. And I have. And so I'm not going to get too deep into that simply because one of the reasons is I'm actually in AVSI leadership here in Colorado. I'm a treasurer of the Rocky Mountain chapter. And so I love what AVSI is doing at the state level with Drone Prepared and AAM Prepared. And we're working with Colorado legislature next year to get that here. It's just we disagree with how it's being handled at the level in DC.
And I think for that guy to just say, I would just ban all these things yesterday.
Oh,
I think that's extremely reckless and dangerous. And it puts the thought into somebody like if I'm Joe Q Public and I know nothing about DJI drones and I stumble upon this video and I see this guy and he's like, I would ban these things yesterday. They're the most dangerous things on the planet. And then I go out and I see Brian down there in Kenosha flying his drone over Lake Michigan. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he just said that's the most dangerous thing ever. I need to go after this guy, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's dangerous and reckless. And I mean, I think the rhetoric is absolutely uncalled for.
Right.
Lawn darts are the most dangerous thing ever.
But there's so much. Okay, let me ask you guys are about the right age. Did you play catch with lawn darts?
I did.
I got it. None of us died.
Wait a second.
Anyway, yeah, that's.
Yeah, hopefully my dad's not watching still, but
hopefully my kids aren't. To be fair, because I like to be fair about things. One, that guy, no, he pissed me off to no end. And you saw Kyle over there raising his hand in the background.
Yep.
He's in charge. Actually, I think up in the northwestern part of the United States, maybe even north central. Electrical grid. So he has a vested interest in protecting that. Totally get it. But you do know that half of his fleet are DJI drones?
Really? Is he even allowed to fly them after the federal ban?
No, you're not allowed to pay. You're not allowed to pay money to use them. You're not allowed to buy them. So there's no federal ban that says you can't fly. Let me think about that comment for a minute. There are certain times you're not allowed to fly them.
Okay.
But no. So at this point in time, there's no. DOD can't do it, and DOI says they're not supposed to. Although that's hogwash. It was just a memo. It's not regulation or law. It was just a memo.
Okay. DJI actually had a response that they posted that I got off of Drone XL. They said that this legislation aims to block new DJI products from entering the U.S. market and could also lead to the revocation of their existing FCC authorizations. Now, as you said earlier, that as of right now, there's no revocation listed.
Right.
But the door is open to doing that, correct?
Right. It doesn't say you don't. They won't. Try that again in English. It doesn't say they will, but it doesn't say they won't. I spent about 2 weeks ago, I spent over an hour on the phone with Elise Stefanik's national security advisor, staffer, sorry. And I asked her that point blank. I said, look, are you looking at doing retroactive as well? She goes, oh, no, we're not thinking of that. And it's like, I'm not sure if that's true or not. I'm sure, I have no doubt it's been discussed, like many other things, but okay, here's my standard answer to that. I honestly don't think that the U.S. Congress is that collectively stupid. Wait a second. I'm slightly losing faith in that statement over the last few weeks, but I really still believe it.
I do have a video that I took of Congress the other day. Watch.
Because that's what Jesus wants. 9/11 was bad.
I agree with that.
That's our great Congress right there. So. I was just waiting for that door to open. They're really not that smart, Vic. They really aren't.
I'm beginning to lean that way.
Yeah, they'll lean to
there's
whatever.
There's a difference between not being that smart and being that collectively stupid. I honestly think that. I don't think we're the collectively stupid part yet. I hope.
I hope that you're right. I really do. DJI goes on, if this passes, U.S. operators would no longer be able to access new DJI drones, and their existing drone fleets may even need to be grounded. And I'm really hoping that the existing fleets don't have to be grounded because, number one, I solely fly DJI. Yep. Brian's got a DJI drone. And, there's a lot of people. Oh, you got 3. So, and you've got 9. So, and then there's farmers that have DJI drones for their fields. There's, people that are just Part 107 pilots that are going around and all they do is drone photography or videography. I think the number that you quoted the other day in your interview with Ken was right around 63% of small business would go out of business.
67% of all businesses would go, of all drone businesses, drone-centric businesses, would go out of business if they could not replace their DJI fleet. And that wouldn't be like if it passes on Wednesday, it wouldn't be Thursday, But drones these days aren't built to last. We have no maintenance to them. And the technology changes so fast that people don't hold on to their drones that much. Recreationally, recreationally, people hold on to their drones longer. If I get 18 months out of a drone, I'm pretty happy, because I then want to get rid of it for safety reasons. Basically, the odds of something happening are they go from this to maybe this. But, just for me, I want to be able to give my clients the best possible imagery I can using the best equipment I can. And that means upgrading my drones probably every 18 months. And I won't be able to do that. And then what happens when I need to replace it because it's, it's end of its serviceable life? I fly my drones a lot. 18 months is a lot of hours on a drone.
It is. And I fly all over the country. I'm a truck driver.
Nice.
So I I fly in Utah. I fly in and that's another topic of discussion is the drone ban that's proposed over there in Utah. I fly in California, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming. I fly at home. Pretty much anywhere that I can fly, I fly my drones.
That's awesome.
And in order to be able to continue to do that, I need to make sure that my drone's going to either A, be able to legally fly, or B, if it's not illegal to fly, that I'm still going to have the clearance to do so with the FCC.
Right.
So I mean,
that'd be the ticket.
This is a very important one to me. So Shade Tree America says, are the same people who are against DJI claiming them being hooked on the internet okay with CCP link companies buying vast amounts of land near nuclear sites and military bases as well?
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that. I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but you got to sit back and go, what's the joke things that make you go, that's one.
Right.
Like why are they doing? And one of it is because it's farmland, I guess. I mean, I don't know. They are industrial farmers, but I don't know why they're doing it. We can't own land there, so I guess we can say, well, they shouldn't be allowed to own land here, but then we get into a whole tit for tat kind of thing. That's just not fun.
Your Bexy says, I think Congress are beginning to see China as an adversary. DJI is just who they picked because it's one of the most known Chinese company. That and TikTok. And TikTok is actually looking to be purchased over there by Kevin O'Leary.
Cool. Yeah, and I think and it is. They are an easy target. And let's be honest about the fact that China is our adversary. They are not our friends. We get that. We're not blind. We're not stupid. We don't have our blinders on. Collectively as an industry, we know that China is not our friend. I've got plenty of friends in China that are Chinese, but they aren't our friends politically. Let's say.
Right.
We do things to them. They do things to us. I mean, it's just the global atmosphere we live in these days. But they've taken it and just blown it all out of proportion.
Now, the Utah ban is state specific, and I don't know if you want to go into that or not.
I know a little bit about it. Kyle Nordford, who you saw on the video with ABSI, a friend of mine, he's in Utah. He's in Salt Lake. He actually got a lot of that changed to where, it was going to be immediate, and it included first responders, and then he got the first responder aspect of that bill taken out. And so right now, really all it deals with is people who work for or are contracted by critical infrastructure, telecom, that kind of stuff. They cannot use Chinese DJI. I don't know if it's DJI specific or Chinese. I don't remember. But they can't use those drones to inspect critical infrastructure.
Now, now you said you open up an entire can of worms for me.
Oh, well, there's a shock.
The Chinese drones. You can't. Why don't we just say drones?
Exactly.
I mean, Skydio is pretty much the only.
Skydio and Teal and Brink. We have Bobby and we have Free Fly and we have American drones. We have non-Chinese drones, but they're not the ones that 95% of us use, and they're not the ones that basically 100% of recreational pilots use. You cannot, to my knowledge, and nobody's yet prove me wrong here. To my knowledge, you cannot buy a recreational hobby drone that's not made in China. I don't think they're made anywhere else. I have no doubt I'm probably wrong, but I haven't seen one yet.
You can buy a Skydio on eBay, I guess. And
probably buy a Karma on eBay if you want to get technical.
But I mean, I would buy the Skydio just to ship it back to Skydio. In fact, I thought about doing a campaign hashtag return to sender. I won't tell you
what we thought about doing with Stefanik's office, but I will not be responsible for that mayhem.
And your Bexy Parrot is built in the U.S.
They have a model that's U.S. built, U.S. assembled. Okay. Yes, they do have the Anafi U.S. I can't remember what it's called, but they do have a U.S. drone. But it's okay because the other ones are made in France, so that's not part of the process. That's not part of the issue.
Right. Now, I did do a little bit of research as far as, a drone that would be similar to DJI. And what I came up with was, they say R&D is not for research and development. It's for repeat and what is it? I can't remember it right now off the top of my head, but it was pretty clever, and this is a train wreck of a show. So we'll move on from that. But Anzu.
Randall and John are friends of mine, and they do a really good job. They are licensing the Mavic 3 Thermal and the Mavic 3 Enterprise from DJI. They're made in, and I always get this wrong. I don't want to say Indonesia. Malaysia. Thank you. I guess Malaysia is part of Indonesia, isn't it? Anyway, they are made in Malaysia. They are shipped here, and then John takes them to the Loft headquarters, and then they kind of revamp the communication side of the software. It's still the DJI controller, the DJI controls. I mean, the flight characteristics, that kind of stuff. But the part that then communicates with the servers does not go to China. It all goes to the Aloft servers here in the United States. Which, by the way, DJI servers are here in the United States as well. They use US-based Amazon servers. So yeah, they've done their penetration test. They're just now starting to come to market, and they look like a good drone. They're a little more expensive, obviously, than the DJI. Yeah, well, when you're at the enterprise level, I would say $1,500 to $2,000 is a little bit.
You're trust me, guys, you are not going to purchase this drone if you're just doing it for your hobby.
Right.
Okay.
I've got two enterprise drones. I can't do this backwards. Right there. Those are both Mavic 3 Enterprise. And if I needed to, I could go ahead then and get the Anzu Raptor E, I guess it is, for enterprise. Not the thermal. I don't know thermal drones. I have no use for them.
Yeah, the price tag on that one is right around $8,000 from what I saw.
Okay, so $3,000 more.
Yeah. Now, as far you did bring up the servers, so that brings up a completely different topic.
Sure.
We're going to go to the DJI viewpoints. And let's see here. This one here is DJI to disable flight records sync in the U.S. and remove thumbnail previews globally. So as of June 12th onwards, for the U.S. only, the sync flight data option in the flight app settings will be disabled. Bye-bye. And then after June 27th, that sync flight data button will be completely gone.
Yep.
So you won't be able to sync any of your flight data. Now, the one thing that I just want to mention for all of our friends over there in Congress that have two brain cells, you have an option to actually opt out of sharing your flight data.
No, you opt in to share it. It's just the opposite.
Okay.
The default is out.
Yeah.
Big distinction.
So you don't even have to be opted in to give them your flight data.
No.
So if you go out there and you go into your DJI app, get everything set up, you do nothing, because I think you have to actually go into your profile in order to enable flight data.
When you activate, I think it's one of the options. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So you don't even have to share it.
Nope.
For one, and for two, if you do have it enabled to share, the only times that it shares is if you're connected to the internet, which most of us don't connect to the internet at all.
None of my controllers do automatically. I mean, I obviously they do connect to the internet, because like I'll fly with an RTK network for some of my stuff, but it's connected through my car, because it doesn't go to DJI. And
Right.
It's a US based RTK network.
And there's so many people now that use the smart controllers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're very rarely do I see anybody flying using their phones. I mean, that's just how it is, because they've made the smart controllers so affordable.
Well,
and that's
most of them.
Well, yeah.
Some of them not so much.
The ones that I have are affordable, Vic. So the let's see here. DJI recommends that operators who have previously opted into syncing their flight records with DJI download and create a backup of their flight records as soon as possible. So, I mean, is that what they were worried about, our flight records?
That's what they say, they being Congress. And I'm trying to decide if I want to go there. Okay, I'm not going to go there. But it's never mind. But yeah, that was the fear. Okay, when you guys update, like what Michael said, well, you're connected to the internet. No, I'm not. But when I am, oh no, so if you're connected to the internet and flying, now people are still going to say, but you're connected to the internet for uploads or not uploads, updates, whatever. There is no way for DJI after this is all gone to automatically get your flight records. And so that's a non-issue now that Congress is still fighting about. What will they do next then, I guess? I think first of all, the best thing they can do or the most likely thing they can do is, it starts on December 12th. Try that again. On June 12th, which is the same day that the markup starts in the Senate. Formation of America. Armed Services. There's way too many committees. Armed Services Committee. And so the naysayers and those who are looking for the paranoia are going to say, well, they're only doing that on the same day is because they don't want us to do that. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. Let's say that's true. Still, don't put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put it in the NDAA. Don't put that language in the NDAA and sit back. Because why in the world would a company like DJI, who is under the U.S. microscope right now, it's under the congressional, under the DHS, under the DOD microscope right now, do a stunt like that and then go, just kidding. Can you imagine what would happen? They would just say, okay, fine, ban.
Right.
Give DJI a chance, and then go ahead and do all your own penetration tests and stuff like that, like Randall and John did with Anzu, and see whether or not it's updating, they're uploading anymore. And if it is, then fine. Introduce the CCPDA in Senate. It's not introduced yet.
Yeah, but they're not going to introduce it as a standalone bill because they know that that's a loser.
But
so they have to put it into something.
You have to put it in the NDAA. But my comment, and I sent this to both my senators today, said, please forward this to the whole committee because you cannot email the committee unless you are part of their constituency, which really pisses me off. That's also another subject for another day. Let them do what they say they're going to do. Let DJI do what they say they're going to do. And then that way you're not killing an industry because this will kill an industry. There's no real two ways about it.
Right. Your Bexy says, I think the key here is who is lobbying Congress to go down this route. And we live stream. Skydio is putting a lot of money into this.
And so is DJI, by the way.
Yes.
You got to play defense.
Right. DJI is putting money into it, but they don't have the pull that Skydio does because
they don't have a senator in their pocket.
It all depends on who they have in their pocket. They have a previous DOJ person and a previous staffer for Stefanik.
Yep.
And
go ahead. Sorry, I was going to tell you a dirty little secret about Washington.
Oh, well, after Mike Gallagher, helped her start this thing, and Mike Gallagher, previous war hero, I don't know where he lost his soul, but, between him and Stefanik, they definitely, we're doing a number on DJI here. But,
right.
Yeah, what's your dirty little secret?
Well, I want to say about, I don't know exactly, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, a number of people in Congress put out to the lobbying organizations that said, if you lobby for any Chinese any Chinese company, you will not talk to our offices anymore. So a lot of lobbying organizations, lobbying companies dumped all their Chinese customers.
Wow.
And including DJI, by the way. And this is all public. I'm not spilling the beans here. And so one of the issues that DJI and other Chinese companies had was they had to scramble to find new representation in Congress. And so that's, you can tell when you're making a difference. You can tell when you get people running scared because they do backroom crap like that.
Yeah, and we've talked about, people that are running scared with Stefanik trying to get the DOJ on the Drone Advocacy Alliance because I think they're actually, well, yeah, I don't expect you to make a comment on it, but I just want to say that you guys are actually making a difference, because if
We're
you
trying.
guys weren't making the phone calls, if you guys weren't doing the emails, she would have no reason to have to say any of that. And you know, if you can come on at a later date to discuss it, you know, that's fine. But you know, I don't expect you to make a comment on it. That's just my opinion. And I just want to encourage everybody to go to the droneadvocacyalliance.com and make your voice heard, not just once, not just twice, however many times that you have to. You know, let them know. And everything is about numbers. They need to see the numbers.
Mm-hmm. And the numbers are making a difference. And I guarantee you that when you do this, when you go to the DAA site and go to the Take Action page, and you fill in your name and your whatever, and you can write your life story, or you can just hit the button and send it. You're going to get a canned answer back. Your legislator will never see it. It's not their job. It's the staffer or interns or the ones that are reading the emails and checking all this stuff out. But we're making a difference. I happen to know for a fact that there were some senators who there was another drone pilot talking to another congressional. They're one of their elected officials, and it's in the Senate. And that particular person said, "Well, if this does come, the CCPDA, if this does come as a bill into the Senate, we can't really just let it go through because we're getting too many comments from our constituents about it." So numbers count, numbers absolutely count, and numbers count. Tomorrow really would be the best time to do it, but Tuesday, if you have to, do it Tuesday. Because Tuesday, everybody on that committee is going to be scrambling. And so, you know, to get ready for the committee, that's just what they do.
And also
sort of
remember,
like going on a 3-day date, you got to get ready for it the day before. So,
right. And also remember, this is an election year.
Yes, it is an
so
election
they're
year.
doing this in a horrible, horrible time for them.
Yep, and that's also one of the reasons they're pushing it through, because China's the thing right now. And I want to talk real briefly about the DFR, so the Drone for First Responders Act, which is the sister act that Stefanik is pushing. It is not a bill yet. It is a bill, but we don't have the wording yet in the House. What it would do is it basically, in a nutshell, it would increase the tariffs up to 50% of the cost by 2029, and then totally outban at 2030. Bunch of nuances in there, but we won't really do that. When I talked to the Stefanik staffer, whenever it was 2 weeks ago now, I asked him, "Look, are you going to run both the CCPDA and the DFR together?" And she said, "Oh yeah, we're running them in parallel." Let's talk about that just a little bit. They're trying to kill DJI new drones, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what, 85% of the market. And so the DFR then is supposed to take the increased tariffs. I'm going to use the word taxes because it is a tax, and then create a fund for first responders, farmers and ranchers, and those who work on critical infrastructure, where they can then buy new drones to replace the DJI drones. Like we talked about earlier, ain't one.
Right.
Replace it. And B, if you're cutting off, if you're basically killing the goose that laid the golden egg. That's the way it says, right? DJI is going to be the main supplier into that fund. But if you're going to say, no, we don't allow any more DJI, and that passes, and you're still pushing the DFR, to me, that just proves the DFR is window dressing. It's just like, well, boy, I need, people are getting mad about the CCPDA. We need to come up with something. And so we're going to do the DFR, but the DFR is dead on arrival if they kill DJI.
All of the reports that I've seen too says that it's going to sunset after 5 years. So what do people do after 5 years?
In 2030, you buy something that isn't DJI. You buy something that isn't Chinese. DFR is not DJI specific; it's Chinese specific.
Right.
So no more Chinese drones.
So that would be Autel. That would be
everything.
Yeah.
Anything out of Bangkok.
EXO.
All of that.
The problem though that you brought up, especially when you mentioned farmers, because I live here in America's dairyland, and it isn't the farmers that are buying these drones. They're buying services from private companies. So this money that's supposed to go to help them isn't going to go to them.
It's going to go to help them.
I just got done. A buddy of mine let me come out to his farm. He paid for a service. The guy came out, flew over an 80-acre field, found every rock that is 6 inches in size or bigger. And We always joke around here that they're called spring potatoes.
Well, I live in the Rocky Mountains, so trust me, I know all about rocks.
Yeah. But basically he went through, saw that, and like, okay, moved the slider, found every rock that's 10 inches or bigger. They brought down the number considerably, went out with his rock picker, and in 2.5 hours had the field cleaned up. But that's not him going out and buying that drone to do that. He's paying for someone else to do that for him.
Exactly. And on that, along that same line of thinking, Kyle Nordfors, again, the guy who was in the thing, a great guy, has search and rescue course at Pilot Institute, shameless plug. He brought up an incredibly great point when it comes to first responders. A large number of first responder drone pilots are volunteers. They bring their own equipment. So they're not going to be able to buy this. They're not going to be able to dip into that fund. This is for agencies. And that means agencies are going to be spending much more money on drones that aren't as good and starting to incur that liability of every mission that goes out rather than relying on volunteers to go out and save American lives. So both of these bills, beyond a doubt, and I get trouble when I say this, are going to kill Americans. I mean,
they will. It will.
Simple.
Yeah.
Americans are going to die.
Yeah.
And Stefanik doesn't care. She's building her VP, and I'm not supposed to keep saying her name because we're giving her press, but I don't care. She's building her vice presidency on the back of American lives and the drone industry. It's that simple. It boils down to that.
We had a nursing home resident that I won't say escaped. They eloped.
Wandered off.
Yes, wandered off and somehow was able to get past the security measures in place.
Yep.
And if it wasn't for the county police department and their drone, they never would have found her in the middle of the woods.
Yep.
That would have been a death because it was in the middle of February.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. And you're from Rocky Mountain.
I live in Denver.
You know what February is like in Wisconsin?
It's actually worse than here.
Yeah. Well, let me play devil's advocate.
Oh, please do. I love this game.
Let me just play. Okay, so you get your first responders. Okay, so they can't fly their DJI drones. Who cares? They're going to get all that money from that other act, and they're going to get a drone that's U.S. built. What's the difference between that U.S. built drone and the DJI drone? They're both drones. They fly exactly the same.
Only on paper. One, they're going to cost 3 to 4 times as much. They're going to be less reliable. They're going to be harder to fly. You're going to have a subscription because honestly, the only one out there right now that comes close is the X10. It has a subscription where you have to pay every month or every year. I can't remember exactly how it's done. And they're not as reliable. They're not as easy to get up in the air, as quick to get up in the air. If you're going to put a Mavic 3 thermal up, let's say, you can be in the air in 90 seconds from the time you hit the emergency brake and turn your strobes off or leave them on, whatever. You're in the air in 90 seconds. That's not doable with the X10. Seconds count. I mean, is that going to make a huge difference? Probably not, but they don't fly as well. You don't have you can't fly them as far especially if you're flying under a COA. Well, you've got a BV loss. You're allowed to fly that far. You're not going to be able to fly as far with the X10. It just doesn't have the capability. It doesn't have the ease of use, and it certainly doesn't have the value that a DJI or an Autel Max or something like that has.
Okay, now here's kind of a misconception, and maybe you can tell me that I'm more than happy for you to tell me that I'm wrong. But your Bexy says the one good thing that would come out of this is a huge increase in self-built drones, but that's not for everyone. But aren't most of the radios that go into the self-built drones DJI?
If you're working with 03 or 04, yeah, and that's OcuSync, by the way.
Okay.
The issue is, again, it's ease of use. Builders are great people. I don't ever want to build a drone. I don't want to build my cameras. I don't want to build my computer. I don't want to build my drones. I've had to learn how to repair my little tiny hawks because I crash them all the time. But it will create a little bit. It will create that. But the U.S. First of all, you're definitely gonna have to have Chinese source parts. I mean, it's just there's no other option, and I'll tell you a story about that in a second if you want. But if every builder out there were to be able to do something like throw up a Max, or throw together a Max, or throw together a Mavic 3 thermal type drone, obviously you're not going to build the same thing.
Right.
The parts, holy crap, how are you going to get them? How are you not going to source them from China? And then to put them together, you're not an assembly line. If you're a builder, you got maybe 1 or 2 folks working with you, and you can put out, if you're lucky, maybe 3 or 4 a day, if you're lucky.
Right.
You're going to have to charge so much to cover your overhead that, again, now you're back to the Skydio model, where you're paying an awful lot of money for a drone that's not as easy to fly, that's not as capable, and that's not as doesn't work as well, I'll say. So will it create that home built type market? Yeah, but it's still, there's no way that the US market can make that many drones at that quality at that price and compete.
But then the FAA has a problem, because how many of those people are going to put a remote ID identifier on each?
Every damn one of them. Because no, seriously, because in order to fly in the NAS, you have to register your drone, and currently you have to register your drone with the remote ID serial number. And they're out there. There are some built-ins, but the issue with those are, and this gets into a whole nother subject, just like real briefly touch on this, is, if you're a builder, you have to have standard remote ID, which means it needs to be keyed into the operating system, because that way, if there's a remote ID failure, you can't take off.
Right.
That's where the issue comes in. And
now,
people a lot smarter than me have figured that out, but.
Now, what about all the money the FAA is going to start losing from all these drone registrations?
It's $5 to register a drone. They lose money every time we register a drone. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? The FAA is not making any money on our drone registration, folks. You can put that one to bed right now.
Okay, so FAA route, just keep that out of it.
Yeah, it's a non-starter. Trust me. With everything they have to do every time somebody registers a drone, it costs the taxpayers more than $5 every time somebody registers a drone.
Okay, well,
I honestly, and I'm not popular with this opinion, I think they should bump the price up. I think it should be $20 every 3 years to register a drone. I really do.
Well, I don't want
the federal government subsidizing my business.
Right, that's true.
But that's just me. I'm in the minority on that. I swallow that pill when I say it.
Well, I can understand your reasoning, so we're good there.
I'm a small government kind of guy, in case you haven't figured that out yet.
Oh yeah. I'm right there with you. And the smaller it is, the better it is.
Yep.
This is the DJI Get the Facts. This is also from their Viewpoints.
I love their Viewpoints
blog that they do. Fact number 1, DJI created the market for ready-to-fly civilian and commercial drones almost 2 decades ago, and has invested heavily in robust safety and security protections, as well as expanded user privacy controls for our products. Fact number 2, customers only share flight logs, and we talked about this earlier, images or videos with us if they affirmatively choose to do so. Default collection does not exist with us. Fact number 3, operators of our consumer and enterprise drones can choose to fly offline or local data mode, which most of us do, ensuring that no unauthorized parties can get access to their drone data. The only person that's getting our drone information when we're up in the sky is any of the Karens using the Karen app on their phone.
Remote ID.
And then fact number 4, since 2017, we have regularly submitted our products for third-party, and maybe you can get into this, Vic. Since 2017, we have regularly submitted our products for third-party security audits and certification. These U.S. and European cybersecurity experts buy our products off the shelf and conduct the review independently. Their findings validate that we provide the best-in-class data security and privacy protections.
Yep. You know who else has done that? Department of Defense and Department of Interior.
Yes.
You know where you can find those reports? Nowhere.
You won't be able to find them.
They've been taken offline.
Yeah, they don't want you to see them.
No, and that was the government versions, which was kind of the early, local data mode versions. But DoD and DOI have both said, well, no, these are fine. And then others said, well, let's not let that get out. Okay, that's where my conspiracy theory part pops in. But yeah, there are government reports that prove what those testing companies have done. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we actually went back when we did our live stream in February and kind of found an article that went into the DoD and everything that they did for the enterprise side.
It was enterprise, definitely enterprise side.
Now, the Skydio model doesn't really work, though, on a large scale. And they already proved that when they ran into a situation where anybody that was on the consumer side, if they wanted to buy a consumer drone, like you pay a deposit, and then some people waited a year.
Yeah, no, more. I wasn't waving because I want one. I was waving goodbye to the consumer drones made by Skydio.
People waited for over a year for their drone. Mm-hmm. So how are they going to fill this hole, this void that my opinion, this hole that they are creating through their actions, how do they plan on filling this void?
It's not your opinion, it's fact. They can't. They do. It's not just them, us, U.S., United States. We have offshored so many R&D jobs, manufacturing jobs, support jobs. When we've been doing this since the early 70s, we did this to ourselves, folks. We, try that again. Sorry, I'm getting. See, where's my blood pressure medication? No, I don't have any. Skydio can't make enough to fill the hole. Like you said, they cannot. And when I spoke with the staffer, I will not use her name, she said, well, this will invigorate the VC, so the venture capital people, and they'll be the ones to invest into the companies, and we can make this stuff, and we'll have it all done. We were talking about the DFR at the time. We'll have it all ready to go in 2030. And that is an absolute lie. Let's say there was a Mavic 3 Pro, or even let's say Mavic Air. Okay, that Mavic Air 3, one of the most popular consumer drones, prosumer drones out there. Let's say there was something like that on some CAD drawing somewhere in some drone manufacturer or wannabe drone manufacturer computer. That is the design only. Now you have to ramp up the production. You have to prototype it. You have to test it. You have to make sure your design works. Then you have to ramp up production. Oh, by the way, we don't have the chips in the United States to do this with. That ain't going to happen in 5 years.
No,
and that's if we have one on somebody's computer right now that's ready to go.
And you would have to also go through all of the safety concerns. You'd have to go through all the OSHA concerns. You'd have to go through all of
that would be the manufacturing side. Yeah.
There'd be I'd say 10, 15 years before you finally get a drone out. And I
think they can do it in 5. I really honestly do, but it doesn't exist.
So the VC guys, the VC guys, they're smart with money, right? They're out there to make money. That is why that's why they're VC guys.
That's what they're supposed to be doing.
Right. So why on earth would they go into a business that is so highly regulated and so highly scrutinized to the point that they're going to have to jump through all of these hoops? I mean, most of these guys just want to go in, do turnkey, and then sell it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's exactly what they want to do. They would jump through these hoops because there's the market, and this is thinking along the lines of the staffer of Stefanik. There's this magic market that has opened up because DJI can no longer supply the drones, and so now we need to bump 85% of all the drones that used to come into the country now made here, and that's what they're saying. That's what they're hanging their hats on. I'm sorry. What is it? Mark Twain said it's very difficult to predict the future, especially when it's about, it's very difficult to predict things, especially when they're about the future. But I think I'm a fairly on the I kind of have a good idea about what's going on in this industry. And to my knowledge, there's nothing like this out there, and it's just not going to happen in 5 years. I really honestly don't think.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that's all the questions that I have. Brian, do you have any questions?
I was just going to say that, you mentioned an American company building one. Let's go back a few years to GoPro and their absolute failure to build a drone. And they had money to
they
do
have
this.
Sony. They have money.
Yes.
And the Sony drone is an incredibly capable drone. That's it.
Yeah. So I'm agreeing with you. I think, and again, this might be going down the conspiracy rabbit hole, but if we can, if we can eliminate, maybe on a level that if we do not if we become, I think one of the worries is that if we become dependent on DJI and Chinese made drones, if for some reason they do decide to cut us off 10, 15 years down in the future, goods and services that we are doing now without them that have now switched to that model of delivery, we would suddenly lose and we have no capabilities at all. So I understand maybe where some of this is coming from, but
absolutely,
that is such a long-term thought. Right now, they're cutting off their nose to save the face, and that's not the way to do it at all.
No, and it's a legitimate concern for things like DoD, which is why, by the way, you can't use DJI drones for the DoD. They still buy a bunch of them, by the way, just so you know. They do. They do. I know people sell them to them. But that's why, yes, DJI could technically, and so could Skydio. I mean, anybody who flies drone, anybody who makes drones, could put out a command and say, you may no longer fly here, and ground the entire fleet. Okay, I understand that's a possibility, but first of all, why would they? If our relationship with China got so bad that they would do that to our drones, I think our drones are probably the least important thing going on in the world.
That would be the least of our worries, yes.
And suppose they did, that means you have to connect your drone to the internet in order to get that command. So, news flash goes out, DJI grounding drones. Okay, I am no longer connecting my drone to the internet. Not that I do anyway. So it's a semi-legitimate concern under a very set of limited circumstances. Yes, DJI should not be flown around critical infrastructure. I get that. I really do. But let's define critical infrastructure, which is another pet peeve of mine. This might be going down a rabbit hole most of your, but I don't know, maybe some of them do, maybe some of them don't. We have what's called Section 2209 of the 2016 FAA Modernization and Reform Act. That was 2016. That's an important date. That then gave the FAA and some other agencies the I think it was 180 or maybe 360. I can't remember. It gave them a certain amount of time, standard time, to come up with a list of critical infrastructure that the FAA could then say, okay, this is a no-fly zone. That's a no-fly zone. This is a no-fly zone. Because right now, there's nothing like that. We certainly have, and we talked about them earlier, nuclear power plants, federal prisons, some of the more famous landmarks. 2016. In 2018, the FAA Reauthorization Act, they reiterated it and said, hey, guys, we need to get this going. This is 2024. We do not have Section 2209 yet. We can have all the security protocols in the world for all our drones, no matter where they're made, that say, if you're flying here, you have to have these protocols, which, by the way, is the answer instead of a ban. But unless you know where here is, well, you just everywhere is critical infrastructure. So no. So you have to get some security protocols in place for your drones, and then you have to define where those security protocols are mandatory for everything, whether it's a DJI, an Autel, a Parrot, a Skydio, Teal, Brink, Bob's drone company, and oil change shop. I mean, whatever. You got to have that.
And it's just like with the remote ID. If you give the parameters to DJI and what you want it to do, they're going to do the software update and they're going to fix it, right?
Yeah, that's it. And Drone Veteran makes a good point, sort of. I'm going to argue with it, but I'm going to argue with him about it. He says no drone should ever be flown near critical infrastructure. That's a patently false statement. And I'm not picking on you, by the way. Thank you for your service. My brother was career. you should use your drones to fly near critical infrastructure, because the things we can do with drones when it comes to inspections and things like that cannot be done safely any other way. But that's where the security protocols come into play. If you're going to fly your drones near critical infrastructure, you damn well better be air-gapped. You damn well better be just absolutely 100% disconnected from the internet at all times, to the point where if you're, let's say you're going to use a Mavic 3 to do a bunch of inspection stuff and you've got a $2,500 drone, if you need to so bad make sure that that's not going to give any information, you take your card out of the imagery, or you take your imagery off the card, out of the computer, or out of the drone, and destroy the drone. That's extreme.
Right.
But it's, yeah, absolutely we should fly drones near critical infrastructure, because of the things we can do with drones that will save human lives. You can't fall off the side of the dam if you're not on the side of the dam inspecting it.
And you can go onto Google Earth and see any critical infrastructure.
You can see a lot. Now, you can't see at the degree we can with our drones.
No, but you can see a lot of information, and the CCP has their own satellites. Okay, if they want to see something, I know, but
everybody
if
does.
But if they want to see,
Mexico has satellites now.
If they want to see some sort of critical infrastructure, they just wait for their satellite to go over the U.S. and they can look.
Right.
They don't need our drones to see that.
They don't need our drones to see a lot. I mean, the stuff we can get with our drones, obviously, I can also get with, where's my phone? There it is, right here. I can get with that.
Yeah.
It's an overblown issue that has become a political ploy to drag our names through the mud and to make political points, and will eventually cost U.S. companies and cost U.S. lives. It really boils down to that.
Well,
and I'll
think,
stand by that. That's a hill I'll die on. If people come and telling them that people die, I'll just say tough.
Brian has actually brought that topic up a few times.
Great minds.
So we definitely agree with you on that here on this channel. Brian, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say that, this is really reminding me of post 9/11 and the fear that my DSLR here has amongst people that, oh my God, I'm standing by train tracks taking a picture of a train, and that must mean that I'm a terrorist and wanting to blow it up. I've been ADM. So many companies have approached me. You can't take a photo here. Why? I'm standing on a public street.
It's called First Amendment.
It's public space. Yeah. So it's boiling down to the same argument with different technology.
I think that's very true. People have always been afraid of what they don't understand, especially when that fear is published or pushed as hard as it is in Congress right now. We're all of the age that when cell phones first came out, I don't know how many of y'all went to a men's locker room, when cell phones first came out, but you had to give your cell phone to the locker room attendant. They wouldn't let you into the cell room. They wouldn't let you into the locker room with your cell phone. Now you literally can walk around on your phone taking pictures of naked people, and nobody thinks twice about it. Not that I really want to walk through a men's locker room.
No, gosh, no.
Taking pictures of naked men. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's where we're at, I think. But the congressional critters, Congress critters that have just glommed onto the subject and glommed onto the ability to spread the fear for political points. That's where we're at, and they won't let go of it.
Yes, and Brian, that's one of Brian's favorite sayings is the Congress critters. So you two must have been talking before the show started. Really, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think we've ever met, Brian.
Brian, you muted yourself again.
Yeah, I did. No, I don't think we've ever met, but you and I definitely think a lot. Awesome. In way too many close ways.
Well, Vic, I really appreciate you coming on, and let me just put this.
Inviting.
This one is the DroneAdvocacyAlliance.com.
Yep.
DroneAdvocacyAlliance.com.
Yep.
Tuesday is, let's just call Tuesday the deadline.
Sure.
But
sure.
definitely do Monday if you're able. But by Tuesday, definitely get a hold of your senator and just say, hey, look, we want freedom with our drones. all these people are going to lose their jobs or their businesses,
Mhm.
and we know that DJI is not the monster you're turning them out to be. That's basically all you have to say. And let's get those numbers up, because the more numbers that we have, the better off we're going to be in the end. At the end of the show, I give everybody a chance for a last word. So, Vic, we'll start with you, and then Brian.
Last word. Yeah, please, please, please. You need, reach out to senators, especially right now, and especially if one of your senators, and you can go to the Armed Services Committee. So, Senate Armed Services Committee has their own website. Find out who the committee members are, and if one of them is your senator, call their office, please. Call their DC office and lodge your complaint, for lack of a better word, with whoever answers the phone. It will not be the senator. It won't even be somebody. It'll be a staffer, probably an intern. So they'll take it, and you'll get a check in the don't in the don't vote for. I mean, that's basically all yours. You're going to be a check mark, but it's an important check mark, and we got to get the numbers where we need them. And just do it. It really is. It's really, really important. It's imperative that we get this not allowed. And the only other thing I'll say is, in your conversations, in your emails, whichever way you choose to contact your congressperson, your senator, especially right now, is be professional. One person dropping F-bombs and telling them to go do things to farm animals is just gonna absolutely mess up 10, 20, 30, 100 positive responses. Because somebody hears something like that, they're only human. You and I would all do the same thing. We would dig in our heels.
So just be an adult.
Be an adult. Be an adult. Even if you've never done it in your life, be an adult when you talk to your Congress people. So yes, I will. That's my last word, because my last word will take 20 minutes.
Brian.
One last question for you, Vic. When we talk about this bill, I mean, by itself, it was pretty much DOA in the House. They had to embed it into one of these super bills in order to get it to pass. Even if we tell our senators that, hey, this is not right, the chances of it being, again, embedded, because we're not going to not pay our soldiers, so we have to pass the defense.
NDAA has to pass.
What was it?
The NDAA has to pass. There's no
exactly. So with that having to pass, and then something like this being embedded into it, that really, you can argue with whether or not it's actually defense or not. Is there really a chance for it to be pulled out because of that?
Yes, it could be if it's in both. If it's in both the House and the Senate version of the NDAA, what'll happen is, after the Senate votes on it, it will then go to a conference committee, and the conference committee hammers out the differences. If it's both, if it's in both, it's a little more difficult to get removed. But that's why we want to make sure it's not in the Senate version. If it's not, if it's not in both, it's much easier to get removed from the conference committee.
So we want to ask the senators, please have this part of the NDAA removed.
No, make sure it's not put in. It is
not in yet.
It actually, nobody's even mentioned that they're going to do it, but you know damn well there's going to be conservative senators going to say, get his flag and wave it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, reach out to the committee, the entire committee, if you can.
Tell them not to put this in. Okay, that's what I want to know.
Do not put in the language of the CCPDA.
Perfect.
All right,
Brian, do you have anything else to add, Brian?
No, not at all. I just want to thank Vic for his time tonight and all the information he provided.
Absolutely. I'm easy to reach, Vic at dspalliance.org. Or it's if you can't figure out my email address, you have no idea how to use email.
Well,
do not call me though. I've got meetings all week.
I do have Vic's email, so if you're fine with the email, Vic, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, I'll just forward them on to you from there.
Perfect.
And then everybody in the chat is thanking you for all of your information. I mean, you are a great wealth of information, and I hope to have you back on the show sometime in the future that is probably a better, happier topic.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. We're going to celebrate if this happens. If this goes the way it needs to go, we're gonna have more than one celebratory podcast.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Vic. Thank you, Brian. And thank you, all of you, for being here in the live stream tonight. Again, we're just trying to help out the drone industry, not necessarily because we're DJI fanboys, but because we believe in freedom and we believe using the drones that we have available to us. Because without DJI, we just don't have a drone industry in the U.S. for the most part. So thank you all for coming along for this ride with the three of us, and we'll see you later on down the road. Bye, guys.
Good. And I got